everybody, and welcome to today's video. So today I kind of want to share a personal story that helped me learn a lesson. I like to do that a lot. It's actually something that happened today. So as some of you might know, I've got 3 big dogs. I take them to the river pretty much every day. I live maybe, a couple thousand yards off the river. So basically it's a 1-minute drive just down the hill. So I've got a St. Bernard, a Lab, and a Shar-Pei Shepherd mix. So between the 3 of them, I always say it's like 300 pounds of dogs, because it pretty much is. It might even be more than that at this point. But so whenever I go down there, there's a whole routine to it. Getting them into the van and then getting them out of the van when I get to the water. I have to take the St. Bernard out first, and then the Lab jumps out and she just runs and takes off by herself. And then I have the other dog, the Shar-Pei Shepherd mix. She's on the leash, so her and the St. Bernard are on leashes, long ropes, and we get into the water, and then they go and they play, and I keep them under control. And 99 times out of 100 there's nobody there. It's very rural, so there's nobody ever really around. Well, one of my biggest concerns, something that for really some unknown reason, I guess, that's caused me a lot of anxiety over the years, is always being concerned if somebody shows up. Maybe somebody will show up to put their boat in, or maybe they're going to be fishing off to the side of the road, or sometimes they're just sightseeing because it's a pretty scenic area. So I always get really nervous if somebody shows up, and then I'm going to have to be getting out of the water. When it's time for us to leave, if somebody's there, I get really, really nervous that maybe, the Lab, my Lab's going to go up to them and they're not going to like dogs, or they're going to, she's going to shake on them and make them wet, or I won't be able to control the other 2 dogs on the ropes. So it's something that is always conscious with me, and I'm always very, very nervous about that. So, well, today Spirit gave me the opportunity to learn a lesson that there was absolutely nothing to worry about. So, we're in the water, and we're usually there about half hour, 45 minutes, and I'm hearing noises over by where my car is. Now, you can't see where my van is because the scenery sort of curves a little bit, and so we're like off in a cul-de-sac, and you can't see the van, and you certainly can't see it through the trees because it's summertime and everything's grown up. I'm hearing a lot of noises, totally unusual, right? But I'm pretty sure that I heard kayaks, at least one, if not more, being dragged along the gravel road that leads up to the river, and then, I'm pretty sure I saw somebody carrying some paddles. So I said, okay, there's just a couple people putting in their kayaks, and I'll wait them out. Well, I'm waiting, and then I didn't hear any more noise, so I thought they must have gotten in and paddled off in the other direction. So we'd been there a while at this point. We've been there almost an hour. So we turn the corner, we get ready to get out of the river. I've got the 2 on their leash, and my Lab is loose. Well, turns out somebody that does tours of the Chesapeake Bay and the tributaries had his tour of kayakers was getting ready to launch right there where there usually is nobody. So I was dealing with about 11 cars. I was dealing with a bunch of kayaks just all scattered about, all of them in front of my van. They had to move the kayaks out of the way, and about 20 people. And so, of course, I'm getting all flustered. I'm getting nervous because my 2 bigger dogs, or the Shar-Pei and especially the St. Bernard, he's pretty intimidating, and he's a male. He's not fixed, and he's really skittish around other people. He's okay with women, but other men he don't trust them so much. So I'm getting all nervous about what's going to happen with those 2. And meanwhile, my Lab. She decides she's normally the one that has to go into the van first because she's older, she's got some health issues, so I usually she gets a running start and I help lift her hind legs into the van, and then the other 2 will get in. Well, she wouldn't get in the van. She would not listen to me. She would not get in the van. What she was doing was slowly walking, because that's how she walks at almost 12 years old, and being tired from the river. She's slowly walking up to each single person and just kind of walking up to them and saying, "Hi, I'm Sonia, pet me." And they would pet her, and she'd stay with them for 5 or 10 seconds, and then she'd slowly walk over to the next person and do the same thing. Everybody, every single person she had to go up and greet. Meanwhile, I'm standing next to the van with my 2 other dogs, and all they want to do is eat everybody. Everybody's walking past them, and they all they're interested in doing is let me off of this leash because I don't know that person, that person, that person, that person. And as far as those dogs are concerned, that's their river. There's nobody else ever there most of the time. So as far as they know, that's their backyard. And what are all these people doing and their cars and their kayaks in my backyard? So finally, after Sonia the lab had greeted everybody, she finally waddles over to the van. I had already put the St. Bernard and the Shar-Pei in because it was just getting too much to try to handle them. So I had to kind of lift her up, get her in the van, close it up, get home. So, I didn't even really think about it at the moment, but as I was pulling back into the house, I was like, oh, well, that's a hell of a good life lesson. Because all that time, I was worried and concerned and anxiety and nervous about what was going to happen if we got out of the water and there were people there. And what was going to happen was nothing. That's what was going to happen. I was worried that whole time about nothing, and in fact, the one dog quite enjoyed it, and I'm sure my St. Bernard would have enjoyed it and I let him off the leash, but not really for appropriate reasons. He wouldn't really attack anybody, but most likely he would have barked and then shook on them and then probably tried to hump him, which is probably what he would try to do. So I had to hold him on the leash, just put it that way. But, so, what's the lesson here, right? Well, the lesson is many times, all right, you're worried about what's going to happen. You're petrified of, well, if I do this, this might happen. Or if this happens, how am I going to react? And so many times we find 2 things. Number 1, the universe is going to find a way. All right? If you are meant to have that experience, the universe is going to find a way to just keep hitting you upside the head with it until you finally just give in, or you have no choice, like coming out of the water and seeing 20 people. It's going to find a way, okay, to put that experience in front of you where you have no choice but to, well, I'm going to have to go through this now. And then, the other part to that is, how many times is the fear worse than what actually ends up happening? I mean, just add it up in your own life experience. How many times have you been so afraid and so petrified of taking an action because you're so sure that something bad is going to happen? And then it just doesn't. It just doesn't. Now, I'm not saying, obviously, if you're talking to spirit and you're listening to your gut, you kind of have an idea of what you want to do and what you do not want to do. But if you are making that decision from a point of fear of the consequences, most of the times that's going to be here and not really in your gut. Your gut will give you some different reasons, okay? If your only reason is fear, most likely, as I saw today, you're afraid of nothing. And I'm sure that many of you can speak to the same experience where you were sure something negative was going to happen or something horrible was going to happen, and then it didn't. And then you realized the worst part about it was the fear and the anxiety that you put your own self through worrying about those things. So I just wanted to share that story today because I've been taking those dogs to that river for 5 years, and I probably brought them down there, I don't know, 5 times 2. I mean, they've probably been down there 1,500, 2,000 times, whatever the number is. Less than 10 times I would think that I've had anybody actually be there in the way of the dogs when I've gotten out of the water. And I've never had more than like 1 or 2 people just kind of maybe putting in their kayaks. I've never had anything like what I experienced today. And had you told me I was going to experience that, I would have stayed home and not taken the dogs to the river. And instead, we had a great time, and my lab got to greet everybody, and everybody got to greet the lab. Everybody was just like loving on the dog and was so happy that they got to see the dogs. So it was a win-win for everybody, and I would have never done it had I been told I had to do it on purpose. I would have been too afraid of what was going to happen, and I would have put the kibosh on it and not done it. So, all right, thank you guys for watching. Like I've been saying, the website is done. It's themanifestingmedium.com. We are running a $25 special where you can email us with 3 questions on 1 subject, and then I will sit and channel some answers for you at night. Karen will sit with me, and she will give you a written report on what I get and her interpretation involving human design as well. She'll give you a written report in 2 to 3 days after that's done. So the links to all of that are in the description. And thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in tomorrow's video.